Well,
HP.
after a week where we got ARM guidance and Western Dig guidance,
Right.
and now Intel and now Microchip, you're still bullish on the space at large?
No, I'm bullish on companies that really have or are going to the GPU or helping NVIDIA.
So it's a narrower set of bullishness.
Look, I mean, on the conference call for Amazon, they absolutely know that they have to spend money on AI. To the point where they mentioned that NVIDIA is sold out. They're sold out for a long time. They're sold out probably through 2025.
Yeah, listen, the spending plans that we've heard that have been reaffirmed from the likes of Microsoft or Meta or Alphabet or Amazon have done nothing to dissuade anyone from thinking NVIDIA is going to still be the key beneficiary.
Right, but you take
now, we have this big rotation that's going on in the marketplace. There's concern ultimately about the consumer, whether the Fed is now behind the curve. But none of that seems to go to the heart of the matter, which is NVIDIA is going to be potentially sold out for some time to come.
I mean, if you listen to Amazon, of course, they have to build their own, but that's a defensive move because they can't get enough.
Building their own chips. Right, or designing their own chips.
But I mean, you look at Amazon. Here's the way I look at Amazon. I think it's important because the stock's down so bad today, I would be a buyer. Amazon knows that there's a lot of business, so they have to buy a lot of planes. They have to put up hangars. Now, you don't, when you're buying a lot of planes, you're not putting people in the planes. So they buy the planes first, costs a lot of money. And then you have to bet that they're right. I want to bet the chassis is right. Or you could actually use a different analysis. They are buying a Stradivarius, and you can't just learn like a violin, a Stradivarius. You got to learn, it's a little harder to learn. It's a little harder to teach, inferential. So I'm just trying to find analogies so people understand that it's taking some time. They can't just turn a switch.
Yeah.
And that's making people very upset. And the fact that they mentioned the Olympics, I mean, people's like, are you kidding? I mean, but the country is like in a 2012 mode. I mean, they're watching the Olympics. They're not buying as much. And what they are
Because they're watching the Olympics?
Them, not me.
Yeah, I know. That was weird.
Them.
Jefferies does have a note today saying that clients are calling in asking about potential delays in Blackwell. And then we did have the report yesterday about DOJ reaching out to rivals of NVIDIA who have been complaining.
Well, it's slower. It's slow, but they never really said it was going to ship in volume. So people who think it was going to ship in volume, they should go back over. They should talk to Jensen. He never said it's going to ship in volume right now. Never.
Right. There is still this question about return on invested capital, whether there will be. By the way, the answers uniformly from the hyperscalers has been yes. And Jassy said the same thing.
How about Zuckerberg? Remember him?
He talking about generative AI, Jassy said it's going to get big fast, and it's largely all going to be built from the get-go in the cloud, which, as you know, allows the opportunity for those businesses to continue to grow.
The cloud is growing at a
you've
level.
heard no let-up whatsoever
90% for the cloud. That's what we should be focused on, but we're all focused on
from those who are making the capital allocation decisions.
And can I just say one thing?
You can say many things.
I'm sorry if you were mad at me.
I
apologize.
I'm not mad at you.
I got a little excited because it's a big day, but I regret that I did.
The AI revolution story, I believe, is well intact. And all of our checks, this is not a time to panic despite the white knuckles that we're seeing in the market.
The FT is reporting that Elliott Management told investors recently that NVIDIA is in a bubble and the AI technology is overhyped and that the reality is not matching the hype. You totally disagree, I know.
I couldn't disagree more relative. If we were here before earnings, before conference calls, and I think we even talked about it, let's see what numbers look like. Look at the Azure acceleration. Look at what Lisa Su talked about from AMD. We saw what we
thought Azure was disappointing.
In terms of the acceleration that they're guiding for second half. That's really talks about the monetization, that moment is right here. And my view is, look, the haters have continued to hate. The bears have been there for the last few years. I get right now it's easy to come out and kind of yell fire into a crowded theater in tech. We don't see it because it's not just from the calls.
You see the value matching the hype.
I actually think the street is underestimating what is going to be $1 trillion of AI CapEx over the next 3 to 4 years in terms of across tech. And nothing that we saw here in any way dents the thesis.
No, you're right, Dan. And listen, none of them are backing off their CapEx plans. To your point, I mean, AWS, actually acceleration at AWS in terms of revenue growth, up 19%. There is still, though, this larger question as to whether you're going to ultimately get that return on investment over time. You obviously believe that will be the case, but what do you see on the ground in terms of applications that are coming in the near term that will start to at least alleviate any of those fears some investors may have?
Sure. From the enterprise perspective, and we'll hear it from Godfather of AI, Jensen NVIDIA, in a few weeks, the use cases and the amount of enterprise right now that are on that AI path is up 4 or 5x. So these enterprises are on the path from what I believe are going to be use cases across healthcare, financials, insurance, retail. As we've always talked about, it all comes down to show the monetization. The spending's there. And I think when you look at what Sue talked about, Nadella, what we talked about from Sundar, Jassy, this revolution is happening. The monetization phase is now just starting. I'm not going to see that we're going to have air pocket between the CapEx and when revenue comes, but to bet on this and to bet against it, to me, like to bet against Cook and 2.2 trillion in terms of where we ultimately see, the actual install base, and you look at actually right now an AI revolution coming to Apple, that's a tough bet.
Would you give it a year? If it doesn't happen in a year, right? If the rhetoric doesn't change, then would you start to get nervous?
I'd say if we sit here in January, February, and we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the monetization from a software perspective. We haven't seen it from an actual monetization outside just Mag 7 to call it second, third, fourth derivative. If McDermott comes and all of a sudden he's negative on AI, then that's where, of course, we have to take, sort of look at it. But right now, it's actually more emboldened because of what we see, not just from earnings, but from our checks.
I've never seen Bill McDermott negative on anything.
Well, he has pivoted before. Yeah.
And it comes if McDermott, Sue, Nadella, Cook are seeing something, I'll take them despite many that are right now kind of throwing gasoline on the fire.
All right, let's talk about NVIDIA and the rest of the market. So yesterday morning, we got bad economic data, as I mentioned in yesterday's video. ISM manufacturing PMI came in much worse than expected and showed a noticeable contraction. Manufacturing prices paid was higher than expected, which is not good. New construction spending was negative, and initial jobless claims came in higher than expected. And then this morning, we got more economic data. The unemployment rate rose to 4.3%. And here's what was really concerning. U.S. non-farm payrolls came in much lower than expected at 114,000 when we were expecting 175,000. And with all of this new jobs data, the SOM rule was triggered. For those who don't know, the SOM rule is a recession indicator that is indicative of the early stages of a recession. This rule is triggered when the 3-month moving average of the U.S. unemployment rate is 0.5 percentage point or more above the lowest 3-month moving average unemployment rate over the previous 12 months. I know that is a mouthful, so to make things much easier, let's just look at the St. Louis Fed's real-time SOM rule recession indicator, and as you can see, we are currently above the 0.5 threshold. This indicates that we may already be in a recession. With all of this in mind, market participants are panicking because they are worried that the Fed has waited too long to cut interest rates and that we may already be in a recession. So now back to NVIDIA. Do not get me wrong, I am bullish on the long-term future of NVIDIA, especially as more hyperscalers like Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon increase their capex spending by billions of dollars. At the same time, I am cautious about buying NVIDIA stock in the short term. If the entire market is worried about a recession, then that is going to weigh down on NVIDIA in the short term. If the economy was fine right now, then yeah, I would be much more bullish on NVIDIA in the short term because of the increase in capex spending on AI infrastructure. But let's face it, the economy is not doing great right now, and now the market is seriously worried. Starting back on June 20th and 21st, I started telling you that I was expecting softening in NVIDIA's price and choppy price action, likely lasting into mid to late July. And we got that. I also told you that I was expecting pre-anticipatory running in NVIDIA once we entered August as we got closer to NVIDIA's next earnings report on August 28th. Here's the thing though, the market has changed since then. So if the entire market is worried about a recession as we go through August, then that would weigh down on NVIDIA in the short term. So with that in mind, I am much more cautious than bullish when it comes to NVIDIA in the short term. I'll be honest. I think NVIDIA is likely to report a great quarter on August 28th. But at the same time, the market is very much concerned about a recession right now. And so I am cautious about any kind of pre-anticipatory run-up between now and then. Hopefully I'm wrong and the market turns around for the better. But for right now, I am more cautious than bullish. With all of that being said, I hope you all have an amazing weekend, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.